What's up, YouTube friends? I'm Brian Hewitt of Hewitt Films, and today we're talking about the Heidi Allen case. Today I'm talking about the 3 new suspects that have been brought into light since Tanya Priest came forward back in 2014. The 3 new suspects: James Steen, Roger Breckenridge, and Michael Bohrer. The first person we're going to look at is Michael Bohrer. Now, he was interviewed by the police. He also had to do a testimony in court regarding the case. And for some reason, they never released that video of Michael Bohrer on stand. The other 2 they did, Roger Breckenridge and James Steen. Their testimonies were shown on Syracuse.com, but for some reason, Michael's wasn't. The police did release this on Syracuse.com, and this is one of the investigators talking with him about the case. Check it out.
What do you know about the Heidi Allen case?
That it's different from what everybody else believes.
Did you hang out with Roger Breckenridge?
Oh, not really.
No?
No.
Why not?
He scares me.
Why?
I think he's fully capable of anything.
What do you mean? When you say anything, what do you mean? I don't...
He's got them eyes that...
The killer eyes you were talking about?
Yeah.
Why, has he killed somebody, you know?
I don't know.
You don't know?
Like I said, I go the other way. I don't want to know them people.
You never junked cars with him or anything? Did some junking with him?
Which Breckenridge?
Roger.
So the cop asked him if he ever hung out with Roger Breckenridge, and he was like, right away, he was like, no, he scares me. He's got those killer eyes. But then he tries to play dumb, and he's like, which Breckenridge? Wait a minute, a few seconds ago you knew exactly who he was. Now all of a sudden you don't?
How about James Steen?
James.
J. Thumper? J Steen? Thumper?
I know the name Thumper.
The one that killed his wife up here in Pulaski, or his ex, Vicky and Chuck Carr. You've never hung out with James Steen, Thumper, or whatever you want to call him?
No.
I know Roger Breckenridge, you never scrapped with him? Because they're saying they know you. They're saying that they scrapped with you. That's why I'm getting here to you.
So many years ago. Roger Breckenridge is ringing a bell, but his face, and the same thing with Thumper, the face isn't coming to me.
Right.
You show me a picture of him, then I'll go, oh, that guy.
Right. Well, let me ask you right up front, what do you think happened to Heidi?
What was done with her body?
No, what happened to her? Where is she? What happened to her?
They made her disappear.
Who's they?
There's any number of places she could have ended up.
What if I told you, Mike, that somebody said you had something to do with it?
They don't know what they're talking about.
Why?
I'm not capable of doing anything like that.
No? Why not? Why would
It's not in me to do it.
Not in you to do it? Why you say that?
I'm not a violent man.
No?
No.
Just have panic episodes and...
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's about it.
So in your panic episode, do you think you could do something like this? Why not?
No,
So do you remember what you do during these
Thou shall
episodes?
not kill. I'm not going to hell for nobody.
Right. Thou shall not kill.
Interesting. Michael Bohrer says he's not a violent man. Thou shall not kill. He wouldn't do something like that. It's not in him. Funny, because a while back he tried to abduct a young girl, him and his brother actually, and try to get her into a car. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Sounds very familiar. Let me show you a clip of the woman he tried to abduct a while back. Check it out.
I had finished an 8-hour shift, and myself and a few co-workers went to JoJo's, which was a 24-hour restaurant, and just to get a little bite to eat and wind down from the very busy shift. And so I had something to eat, and I decided I was tired and I was ready to go. So I actually left before my other co-workers left. So I walked out of the restaurant, got into my car. As I was pulling away, two men walked in front of my car that I had to actually stop. And they were both glaring at me through the windshield. And I was like, what's wrong with these people? And I thought it was odd. They actually got in front of my car that I actually did have to stop. And so, and then they passed, and then I continued driving. And I only lived a couple miles from there. And so I'm driving home, and I never saw any cars behind me, and there was no headlights, nothing. And I pulled into the complex where I lived. It was a large apartment complex. There was a lot of parking spaces. Pulled into my space. Never saw a car pull in behind me. And as I gathered my things to get out of my car, I closed my car door, and the next thing, there was a man behind me saying, "Excuse me, can you help me find someone?" And the next thing, he had me in a chokehold with his other hand over my mouth, dragging me backwards. And then I saw this vehicle, and I saw a man that was in the passenger seat climb over into the driver's seat, and then he opened the passenger door, folded the seat forward, and at that point, Michael Bohrer, which, I didn't know who he was at that time, at that point, that's when he no longer had his hand over my mouth, because, I was fighting to breathe and fighting, just to be able to breathe. And finally, he stopped that, and then I was able to scream. And as I was screaming and fighting, being pushed into and forced into this car.
Pushed and pulled from the inside, too.
And John was inside. His brother was pulling at my legs. My legs were in that car. And Michael was still forcing me. And I had, seriously, it was just my fingertips on the top of that car. That was the only thing that was the last grip that I had. And as all of a sudden, John let go of my legs, and he told Michael, "Let go of her, get in the car, we got to get out of here." And I don't know what it was. I'm assuming that it probably was maybe a light, maybe someone turned on a light. Someone must have heard my scream. And at that point, I was able to break away and get away from them. But the thing that just is so frightful for me is that had this been like a van or a larger vehicle, there's just no way. Because I can't imagine that after they were done with whatever their plan was that night, that I would have been brought back home. I don't think I would.
Sorry.
And now let's go back to the officer talking to Michael Bohrer about the Heidi Allen case.
So during these episodes, you don't think you would have a lapse in your thought process and snap and kill somebody, take them away and do something with them? You don't think so? So what if I told you that some people were saying that you, Roger Breckenridge, and James Steen had something to do with this?
I barely know who they are.
Well, no, you seem so preoccupied with the case, and you had a whole box full of stuff.
I was obsessed with it because I took a personal note in it because she was the same age as my oldest daughter, and it just freaked me out that a kid could be taken away like that, and I took it personal.
Let me ask you straight up. Did you have anything to do with Heidi's disappearance?
No.
What does it make you feel like when I say that, when I ask you that? Well, how do you feel when I ask you that?
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know? When I ask you if
I
you had
don't
any...
know what
Are you pissed off about it?
No, I'm not pissed.
Mm-hmm.
I just confused. I don't understand why you think it's me.
Like I told you, these rumors, these people, you said like all this stuff that, you know, people are saying all this stuff, everything comes back together. Mm-hmm. That's why I'm here talking to you. Things just they're saying that you had something to do with it.
That's crazy.
That's crazy? What do you think about these people saying this about you? What do you think about these people?
I don't like them.
Why?
I think they're evil people.
Now we're going to check out the main suspect, James Steen, and his testimony in court. James Steen was the one, back in 2006, who approached Tanya Priest and told her the story about how he, Michael Bohrer, Roger Breckenridge, kidnapped Heidi Allen, brought her to a garage on Rice Road, killed her in the garage, and then brought her across the road to a cabin and buried her body under the floorboards. But this is what started the whole investigation. So Tanya Priest went to the police and told them about it. So let's look at James Steen's testimony in court.
What did you tell the prosecutors and the two investigators about Breckenridge's, or the possibility of Breckenridge's involvement with the disappearance of Heidi Allen? What did you tell them?
Well, what was said that day is that I worked driving, hauling cars for Murtaugh's, and that I hauled the load, got back, and it was like 2 weeks later, a week later, Roger came up to me and said something about me hauling a stolen vehicle, a van.
Okay, I'm starting to notice a pattern here with these suspects. Michael Bohrer starts talking about Roger Breckenridge. And now James Steen is doing the same thing. He's talking about Roger Breckenridge. And before that, in my other video, my Jennifer Westcott Lives video, she starts talking about Breckenridge. And then in that video, she said she wanted to go visit Steen in prison. This was way before this testimony. So did Westcott and Steen try to match their stories up before he went and testified? I don't know. But it seems as though they're all throwing Roger under the bus. Very, very interesting. Let's continue.
And I said, okay. I went and asked Rich Murtaugh if that happened. He said no, that was that. Then we discussed further that it was like 8 months after that. We were at a party and Roger showed up. He was drunk and he had mentioned something about, do you know what was in that van? And I said, no, I have no idea what was in that van. And he went on the part about the remains of Heidi Allen. I went and asked Rich Murtaugh the same question. And he told me no, it wasn't.
So let me get this straight. Roger Breckenridge goes up to James Steen and tells him that he junked a car with a body in it. So James Steen goes to the owner of the junkyard or scrapyard, Rich Murtaugh, and says, is this true? Wouldn't Rich Murtaugh call the cops on Roger Breckenridge? You would think, if this guy's making claims like that, it's happening on your property, I'd be the first one to be on the phone with the cops to say, this guy's saying some crazy shit and he needs to be talked to.
You said that there were 2 conversations with Mr. Breckenridge about this, is that right?
The first one was him telling me I hauled a stolen vehicle.
And the second one was where? Where was that conversation? And
Oh,
when
at a
was
party.
that?
I can't remember if it was on the power lines or it's where everybody would go and there'd be a party. Then you'd be drinking. It's a keg party. I don't know if it was Happy Valley back then or if wherever it was we were at.
When was that conversation?
Oh, God. 95, late 94, early 95, middle 95. I don't know exactly. You know what I mean? If I could remember when I was working and where I was working and when that was going, I could be more, but I can't. Sorry.
Did you tell the prosecutors that Roger Breckenridge made a number of comments about Heidi Allen's disappearance?
I can remember hearing it over at Westcott's house a couple of times, but other than that, everybody thought Roger was just blowing steam. That's all he ever did.
What did Roger say at Westcott's house and when about Heidi Allen's
I
disappearance?
what exactly was ever said, I couldn't, you don't listen to Roger. Roger starts piping off, he's how do I say this without getting in trouble up here? A lot of hot air. You know what I'm saying? You never knew if he was telling you the truth. Why do you think I went to Rich Murtaugh when he told me I hauled a stolen vehicle? That's going into Canada with a stolen vehicle. I don't want to go to jail. I didn't want to go to jail back then. That's why I went right to Rich Murtaugh and asked, did I haul a stolen vehicle? And he told me no.
How many different times did Roger Breckenridge bring up the subject of Heidi Allen's disappearance with you?
Oh, and I know those 2 times. It could have been more that I heard it or whatever. I never kept count.
I never kept count? Why didn't he go to the police and say, this guy, Roger Breckenridge, is telling me these crazy stories about Heidi Allen's kidnapping?
In 2014, during your interview with the prosecutors and the 2 sheriffs, what did you tell them regarding the shipment taken to the facility? In other words, was the shipment taken directly to the shredder? Did you say
All
those
shipments
things?
are taken directly to the shredder. Some are stacked up out in the backyard. Some are taken right there and ran right through. I ran a step deck trailer. So yeah, I backed up to the shredder and the crane unloaded me.
Did you tell them you were told to take the shipment that Breckenridge was talking
I
about?
drove the step deck trailer. That's where I went. I said if they would have, like I told them that day, if they would have put that van on my trailer and Heidi would have been in that van, that's where it would have went. Right to the shredder. Plain and simple. That's what I told them.
Did you tell them, the prosecutors, that you were told to take the shipment
No.
directly to the
No.
shredder?
No.
When Roger made these comments to you about Heidi Allen, you can think of, at this point, 4 different times that this may have come up?
It probably was more, but you heard these comments out of a lot of people. Everybody knew what happened to Heidi back then. Everybody was talking like they knew what happened to her, but nobody knew anything.
Regarding your statement on June 14th, 2013, with the investigator, Petrosky, were you asked any questions about Roger Breckenridge on that date?
I don't believe so.
Were you asked any questions about Michael Bohrer on that day?
I don't believe so. I was asked if I knew him. That's about all I can remember. That I don't believe we went into depth in there. It was more about the allegations against me.
What did you tell him about the allegations against you? What
They were not
specifically?
true.
What were you asked about specifically on that day?
If I did what Tanya said I did, and I said no, I didn't do what Tanya said I did. They said that I buried Heidi Allen's body under a cabin on, I believe you guys said Rice Road. I told them no. They went and searched. They didn't find Heidi Allen in the cabin. Like I said, she was lying.
What did you say, if anything, about Jennifer Westcott to them on that day?
Not very much. I didn't say very much to him at all about anybody.
Well, what was the conversation about that day then?
Yeah, maybe that, yeah, I knew her. If Jennifer was his girlfriend, that's about it. I was not, there wasn't a discussion there. I didn't want to do them sign statements, and that's the reason I signed them the way I did. I'm doing life without parole in prison, lady. I am not a snitch, plain and simple. And that's what I told them. I'm not going to sit here and tell on people. And then when I read the paper, what Roger Allen put in the paper, which Roger Breckenridge put in the paper, that, yeah, he picked up the van, well, sure, that's what I was told. I told him I had nothing to do with Heidi Allen's disappearance, and I had nothing knowingly to do with Heidi Allen's disappearance, because I didn't know if that van was on the back of my truck. I didn't inspect my loads when I went and delivered them. They were cabled, they were done, I got in the truck, I drove, I dropped them off, I came back. They were crushed cars.
When you just said that you are not a snitch, is it your testimony that you would not tell on anyone under any circumstances?
Not in any circumstance. I'm doing life without parole in prison. So that circumstance, nope, you're not going to see me telling anybody.
So if you had information about Roger Breckenridge confessing to Heidi Allen, you would not tell because you don't want to be a snitch.
I told them what I knew, what Roger told us. Told them.
If you knew what happened to Heidi Allen and who was responsible, would you tell?
No? But I don't know.
But that was chilling when he said that. I don't know if you guys felt the same way. Let me play that again.
If you knew what happened to Heidi Allen and who was responsible, would you tell?
No? But I don't know.
Let's go to the last testimony of the three new suspects. This time, it's Roger Breckenridge. Now, this goes a little fast, and out of my opinion, my honest opinion, watching it, the only part I believe is the end part. Check it out.
Mr. Breckenridge, you said you don't know the Thibodeaus.
Nope.
You don't know Richard Thibodeau?
No.
You don't know Gary Thibodeau?
No.
As far as you know, you've never met them?
Never.
Do you have any personal knowledge regarding Gary Thibodeau's guilt regarding the abduction or kidnapping of Heidi Allen?
I never knew anything. So I don't know.
Would it be fair to say, as you sit there, you personally don't know whether he's guilty or innocent?
No.
Well, let me ask you, did you have anything to do with the abduction of Heidi Allen?
No.
Did you go to the D&W store on Easter morning of '94?
Nope.
Did you work with any other people to lure her out of the store and throw her in a van?
Nope.
Did you see Heidi Allen
Nope.
that Easter morning of '94 or any time after that?
Nope.
Did you ever dispose of her remains?
Nope.
Do you have any idea where her remains are?
Nope.
If you did, if you had heard reliable information regarding where her remains are, would you tell somebody?
Yes, I would.
Why would you?
Because I got kids that age. I would want to know if something happened to one of my daughters. I would want to know what happened to my kid. Yes, I would. And that's the God honest truth. If I knew where she was, I'd be telling. Right here and right now.
But you don't know.
But I don't know. I wish I did.
Thank you, Mr. Breckenridge.